Welcome back. Survivors stood united on Capitol Hill today as they called for transparency and the release of files related to the convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. Some women spoke publicly for the first time about the abuse, and one survivor, she talked about her story because she does not want the public to forget about the abuse from Epstein. Listen.
I speak today not only in service of my own recovery from trauma inflicted by Maxwell and Epstein, but to honor the lives, the courage and sacrifices of Virginia Giuffre, Caroline Andriano, and others who could not continue. Their voices mattered. Their stories must not be forgotten.
All right, let's bring in CBS News congressional correspondent Caitlin Huey-Burns. Caitlin, thank you for joining us today. What are some of the major takeaways that you got from that news conference with Epstein survivors?
Well, Mugo, I think it's really important to hear from them because this is an issue that has just become so mired in politics. It's become a political football when at the heart of this are those voices from the victims. One of them who died by suicide, as was mentioned by that woman that you just heard there. So that being said, this is a political issue up here on Capitol Hill, and what these victims are saying is that they want as much transparency as possible. And you saw during that press conference that they were flanked by a few lawmakers. There has been an effort up here on Capitol Hill, a somewhat bipartisan effort to have more transparency around this. We know that 2 members of Congress started to gather signatures for a discharge petition to force a vote on the House floor to release more files. But just last night, the House Oversight Committee released about 33,000 pages of documents that they had subpoenaed the Department of Justice for. We don't know exactly yet what is new from these documents. A lot of them are things that we've already seen before. But the takeaway from that is that House leadership has said today that they hope that this renders that discharge petition moot, that they are going to hope that this is kind of put aside. The Oversight Committee will deal with this, and they'll actually have a vote on the House floor this week to let the Oversight Committee kind of deal with all of this. So this is an effort by Republican leadership to move this off the table in terms of having it be in the way of legislation they want to get through, but also, in their view, in their words, offer some type of oversight.
Yeah, and Caitlin, what we heard from those survivors today, clearly a very loud call for transparency. But then moments after, we heard from President Trump at the White House, who called it a Democratic hoax. So where do we go from here? What comes next?
Well, right now, House leadership on the Republican side is going to let the Oversight Committee handle all of this. They argue that this is how they got those documents in the first place, and there is going to be a procedural vote this week attached to other legislation that would essentially give let the Oversight Committee handle this. And Speaker Johnson told us today that he hopes that that will actually reveal more information. Now, that remains to be seen. That takes a long time. And again, a lot of those documents were not new. So whether this, in fact, continues to be an issue remains to be seen. I can say that that release of those documents yesterday did satisfy some Republican lawmakers who were about to or likely to have signed that discharge petition. They need 218 signatures to move that forward, which means that even if they get all the Democrats on board, they still need a handful of Republicans. And that looks, at least at this point, to be unlikely given the moves from the Oversight Committee. So that's where it stands from here, but there's no question that Democrats will continue to push this issue as a transparency issue, as a way to needle Republicans, and also to push back against the president. They have certainly seized this as a political issue and feel like they can continue with it.
Okay, Caitlin Huey-Burns on Capitol Hill for us today. Thank you so much for your time.